Yo, what's going on everyone? In this video, I'm going to show you guys how I was able to defeat the hard mode Dead Bride boss. Now, I'll show you guys all the mechanics and also the loadout I was using. So this boss is going to give out a lot of chill damage, so you want to first off have a lot of resistance to chill. Also, it's going to be weak to fire, and so you want to make sure you put on fire concentration on all of your weapons that you're going to be using. From there, you want to increase your critical hit chance and your critical hit damage and speed, and make sure that you have this on all three of your weapons. Now for this fight, I'm going to be using the Eternal Willpower, a Scout Rifle, and also a Sniper. I suggest the three of the same, like at least the same weapon types, and my damage output's about 100k on each of them. Now on the Scout, you also want to do a couple buffs for critical hits and damage output because the Scout actually is extremely effective against this boss. Also, there's going to be times where you're going to be so far away from the boss that there's almost no way to even hit it accurately without having the Scout or the Sniper on. So there's tons of mods you can run on the weapons, even the Sniper, to make it much better. Things like doubling your damage after reload, and the same thing with the fire enhancement and the added crit hits. I was able to hit over 500,000 damage with the Sniper. Now, also, it's really good for when you have to deal with its immunity phase. If you guys have gone after the boss before, it's pretty annoying, but I'll show you guys how to get out of it. Now, here's some of the mods that I'm using. Now, because the boss is actually at such a far distance away, you don't really need too many ability buffs. Instead, I would actually focus more on the cold antibodies. I ended up running two of them because even with the purple one on, it almost maxed out. It still really wasn't enough. Now with two of them on, you can actually give yourself extra time to get out of the bubble. This is actually the most important part of the fight. The mechanics and the damage output, I feel, for this boss are not anywhere near as hard as some of the others. However, it's staying alive during the immunity phase. With two of these chill mods on, or the resist mods, you can actually go and survive this for a few seconds. It gives you a lot of time to get out. So if you don't have the space for these mods, you can always just take off some of the mods for your skill perks because you're not going to really be using the skills too much during this boss fight. Now you can still use a few on ads, so I wouldn't take them completely off, but I would definitely focus more so on having chill resistance than I would anything else for this fight. From there, depending on what character you have or what build, how many points you have left over, you can slot in some extra things, but just focus mostly on having that chill resistance. Now the boss is extremely weak against fire, so if you have one of the fire characters, just go ahead and use that, but make sure that it's all obviously level 40 and things like that. You don't really want to go in with like a level 20 just because you have it. Another thing you may want to use is this mod called the Absolute Curse, because when you break off the armor from the boss, it will remove all of their buffs. However, it can be tricky sometimes because if you're playing with randoms, they might not coordinate it. And so it's up to you if you want to run it, but it really doesn't cost a lot of points even when it's maxed out. So here we go. We're going to get into the boss fight. I'll show you guys exactly how to take this one down. Now, for this boss, if you don't see its shield going down extremely fast, I wouldn't really worry too much because although the shield is extremely strong, the health is really not that as strong as you would think. Now, just like the other bosses, you're going to focus in on the shoulders when you get in here, especially if you're running that perk, you want to try to grapple up. Now, the problem with grappling, though, is that there actually has been a lot of problems for me, at least, when I try to actually activate my grapple, and at times it just doesn't seem to work. So sometimes you really have to take your time and get the timing and the accuracy perfect. Now, when you do finally break off a piece of armor, you're gonna stagger the boss. You want to try to break these chains around the legs. This is extremely important. It's also going to stagger the boss once you finally do that. Now, the most important part of the boss is this pink bar. Once this pink bar gets full, it's going to force the boss to go immune. And not only that, but it's going to send out a big giant snow globe. And if you're anywhere within, I'd say 100 meters of the boss, it will begin to basically one hit you. You'll be dead in 2 to 3 seconds, even with all of these resistance mods on. So as soon as you see that bar get to even 95%, before it even goes full, I would honestly just start running away. Now, what makes this bar fill up is the amount of bullets that the boss takes. So if you're using an SMG with an extremely high fire rate or an LMG, it will actually charge up the bar faster because he's taking more shots. So therefore, the abilities technically, using abilities whenever you can actually technically does make the boss slightly easier because it may take him a little bit longer to get into that frenzied state. So if you have a full team and you're all running LMGs, you may notice how fast the bar goes up. You may want to switch to something else if that's what you're struggling with. Now you'll notice this snow globe pop up. You have to be out of the radius of it, and it really does not give you a lot of time whatsoever. And that's why you want to have the chill resistance mods on and either a sniper or a scout. because when you're this far away from the boss, it's extremely hard to get shots on it with an AR. And not only that, but you have to dodge the globe, and so sometimes it's in the way. You have to almost force yourself to get out of the way. Now, be careful with this boss because he will choose to teleport to somebody. And so if one of your teammates is on the opposite side of the map as you, he'll go so far away that you actually can't even reach him. So you just kind of want to be on the lookout. If you can, try to be with all of your teammates at once so that they're not so scattered out. Also, as you can see, if a teammate goes down inside the snow globe, there's actually nothing you can do to revive them. And that's why it's so important just to have those resistance mods on, because you're not only losing lives when this happens, but you're losing out on damage because I'm so far away from the boss now, I can't even shoot him even with my sniper. So you really do want to try to stay alive. And when you can, though, use your scout and your sniper to break the vial off of his gun. Now, once the vial's broken, you'll go back to the same normal fight. But I suggest trying to get high up as much as you can because that way you can do the most damage output is anytime you're high up and further away. Now, immediately, you're going to want to be focused back on these shoulders. And keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of times when the boss gets staggered. Unlike other bosses, this one stays staggered for a very prolonged time, and you really want to utilize this time to pop your abilities, break these shackles on the legs because it's still important to break those. And then also, I do believe there's even another crit on the chest. So you just want to be just going for whichever crit is the easiest for you to reach, depending on your weapon type and just where the boss is at. The boss is going to be all over the place. Now, the big problem with this boss, actually, I've noticed is that sometimes the boss will actually walk completely off of the map. And so I've definitely beat the boss a few times when it's done that, but I have noticed it makes it extremely hard to not only deal damage to the boss, but to then grapple on because they'll be so far deep in the lava, you literally can't even really reach them. So if that happens, unfortunately, it's kind of just unlucky. And it's definitely a lot easier when the boss does remain in this middle zone, but I haven't found any way to try to get him to stay in the same area. Now I do think it has something to do with where your teammates are standing. You see he's kind of starting to already get pulled now off the map. I'm not really sure what causes it, but utilize these times when the gun goes up in the air when they're trying to do these attacks to just crit everything that you can, especially with your scout. Now we actually had a much more time to defeat the boss this time because I wasn't using my assault rifle. I think that might have given us a lot more time. Like I said, the more bullets you put into the boss, the faster that pink bar is going to charge, and then the faster it will go immune. So if the bar is charging up extremely fast, maybe go back and forth between the SMG and the scout. You don't want to just be mowing into the boss with too much stuff. This might not be a boss to be running LMG on, honestly, because it's going to fill up this globe really fast. And in my opinion, the globe is the hardest thing to counter. Now, just like before, when the globe pops, you want to just stay far away, stay out of the radius. And if you can get up to close to the boss to shoot the gun with an AR, definitely do it. If not, though, you're going to have to use your scout and your sniper. Now, the second time the boss comes out of this phase, you should have about 2 or 3 armor pieces broken. So just go focusing back on the chest and the 2 legs. You can utilize a lot of this stagger time to do a massive amounts of damage, and especially when they're going to pop these attacks. So just continue to mow into the boss. Like I said, guys, this one's going to take probably the full 10 minutes, maybe at least 8 to knock this one down. I'm sure there's some overpowered builds out there, but if you're just matchmaking in and you don't have every descendant, they're probably going to take the full 8-9 minutes. Now, this is the part of the boss where they like to go really far out. And to be fair, it's hard to grapple onto the boss from here, but because there's no cover in between you and the boss, and it's a much wider open area, when they do get staggered, your damage can be really interrupted. This is a great time to be popping your abilities and to just go and use the fastest fire rate stuff you got. Now, there's a good chance that they may go to Snow Globe Youth for the third time. And if that's the case, just be on the lookout for that pink bar. When it gets to 95% or so, just leave early because, in my opinion, it really doesn't give you enough time to get out all the way, especially if you're on a slower character. Another part of the reason why you don't want to run an LMG is you're going to be moving so slow, you may not be able to make it out. So just leave early, play it safe. There's no reason to go down if you don't have to. And then once the snow globe's up, you spin back around and you just start doing damage from range. Now, the whole time you want to slowly be getting as close to the boss as you can. But obviously, you don't want to die over it or go stand in the lava and that's why you really want to run a scout for this because you can still do really, really good damage with a scout from all the way across the map. So it's not like you're missing out on a lot of damage, but sometimes there's going to be stuff in the way. And that's why there's 3 other people in here. They all need to make sure to try to be shooting at the vials on that gun, as you can see here. So there's 2 different vials you have to break. They really don't have that much health, and you can take them down rather quickly. It's more so about staying alive. Now, that's the third time they went into the snow globe. So when they get out, you can know that it's time to do damage again. So any abilities that you do have, you can go and use, but keep in mind we did take a lot of our damage boosting off of our mods for this fight because of how far away the boss constantly is. Their entire objective for this boss is to try to stay as far away from you as possible until it becomes immune, and then it will just teleport on top of you. So that's pretty much it for this boss, guys. Hopefully it helps you all out. I know it's probably maybe the most difficult one, if not the second most difficult, because you have to be on point the whole entire fight. You can't really take any breaks from damage or you just won't do enough. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully it helps you all out, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.